Going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Celtics Daily with me, Mike Zakarian, as we continue to sift through what can only be described as the slowest part of the NBA offseason. It is quiet out there, but that doesn't mean we don't have stuff to get into today. We got a fun one. The Celtics win total just dropped. We've got a new podcast. We've got Skinny Luca and some AI, and then, of course, we'll wrap up our show with your comments. But do me a favor, before we get started, if it's your first time here or if you've just been too lazy, hit the subscribe button for us. Help build those numbers. We're approaching 1,800. We love to see the community growing. A lot of it's been a lot of fun because of you guys. So hit the subscribe, the like button, the notification bell. Let's get the algo boosted. All right, let's go, though. Let's dive into this dog day of summer Celtics daily video episode. Celtics win total dropped, and it is 43 and a half. 43 and a half games. Let's just quickly, I should have looked this up ahead of time, but we'll do it in real time. That's how we multitask up in here. Let's see how many games the Celtics have won the last few years, just combined, because, again, 43 and a half kind of slaps you in the face a little bit. Let's see the last few years, the Celtics, because we've had a 61 game in there. We've had quite a few impressive performances. Ready? So this past season, we had a 744 win percentage, right? So during that time, wow, looking at StatMuse, it's like seeing through the matrix right now. Unbelievable stuff here. And it's just giving me Peyton Pritchard stats. That's great. Super helpful. Super helpful. All right, here we go. Ready? The Celtics last season, 61 and 21. The season before that, 64 and 18. The season before that, 57 and 25, and then 51 and 31. You would have to go to the COVID season where they finished 500 at 36 and 36 the last time they won less than 43 games. But let's go back even further. In 2019, they won 48. In 2018, they won 49. In 2017, 55. 2016, 53. 2015, 48 wins. So outside of a shortened season, right, where the world shut down, and they had to go play in a bubble, the Celtics have won more than 43 games. And that is what Vegas has told us, 43 and a half. This puts them currently around 6th in the Eastern Conference. So initial reaction, gut reaction, need to hear from you. Do we feel like we go over the 43 and a half or we go under? I think if the Celtics play this straight up, if they're like, we are going to try to win a game, every time we're out there, we're not tanking, we're not sitting dudes on purpose just to get rest. If that's the case, I think you bump it up. I think that's an over. However, I am a little concerned that they are going to shut some guys down, especially the second half of the season. And if that's the case, then I want to go under. Then I would like to go under. Just for reference point here, let's get into some of these other Eastern Conference teams that are ahead of the Celtics right now. They have the Atlanta Hawks at 46 and a half, but the way that Vegas is betting on that, that's probably going to go up to 47 games here soon. So the Atlanta Hawks at 46 and a half. We've got the Cleveland Cavaliers at 55 and a half. So that's two teams ahead of the Celtics so far in the Eastern Conference. The Knicks are at 52 and a half. That's three teams ahead of the Celtics now. The Orlando Magic also north of 50 games, 51 and a half win total. That's four teams in the East ahead of them. Next up, we have the Milwaukee Bucks at 45 and a half. We also have the Detroit Pistons at 45 and a half, which, if math serves me correct, I believe that actually puts the Celtics 7th now, right? I apologize. I went out of alphabetical order, which threw me off there for a second. So the Cavs, we've got the Knicks, and then we've got the Magic, the Hawks, we've got the Bucks, the Pistons, and then the Celtics. So that is right for you math dorks. That's 7th. 7th in the Eastern Conference. That puts us in the freaking play-in game, right? Let's look at the Pacers, the Sixers, they have tied with the Celtics, too, at 43 and a half. So that would put them at 8, right? Then the Pacers are behind them at 9 at 39 and a half. Big dip for the Pacers. Actually was kind of surprised to see both teams, Celtics and Pacers, are kind of in similar situations. So I was kind of surprised by that. Then they've got the Miami Heat at 36 and a half. Big drop to the Raptors at 32 and a half. Then the Bulls at 32 and a half. And then, whatever, the Hornets and all that stuff. So that's where the Celtics land right now, just kind of in the thick of it. That sounds about right? When we've gone over this in the past, it does feel like there's probably 5 to 7 or 5 to 6 teams ahead of the Celtics. So for them to finish, in the play-in, I don't think it is the craziest of things. One thing I did want to point out, I meant to put this on the Cryon. There's because I mentioned the Bulls, right? Their over-under is at 32.5. We talked about some potential Vooch trades, right? Nikola Vucevic. And, it's kind of weird. I don't know if it makes the most sense to bring Vooch in this season. His shooting percentages have gone down over the last couple of years, but clearly adding Nikola Vucevic to this front court that we have right now, he'd immediately be the best big on the Celtics team, even if you're not super thrilled. Now, the Bulls came out with a weird, comment, whereas insiders are reporting that if Chicago is unable to trade Nikola Vucevic, they're going to take out the Damian Lillard scissors or the Marcus Smart scissors, the Bradley Beal scissors, snip, snip, and then just wave them, which I thought was pretty surprising. One, it feels like a terrible way to develop trade leverage by just being like, yeah, if you don't want them, we're just gonna get rid of them, I think. So if you're ever feeling like, oh, I don't know what the Boston Celtics are doing, I don't know if I trust their front office, just go ahead, look at what Chicago's done for the last 10 years. You'll feel so much better. But it did make me think if Vooch is going to be going somewhere for cheap and you can get him, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's better than having to give up an asset for Vooch, and then you still have all the other assets that you would have had to give up to get somebody like him. Again, not the perfect fit, but if you're thinking about what the team could look like in coming seasons when Tatum comes back from injury, I don't know. I feel like that is a very interesting spot. Again, it's a shooter, right? He stretches the floor a little bit, not going to bring a ton defensive, but 18 and 14, 18 points, 14 boards a game. Shoots hopefully 37% from three, something like that. So something to keep an eye on if the Bulls are really going to cut bait. I don't know if Vooch is going to want to go to a team that's probably not going to compete a ton, although if he does go to the Celtics, he would immediately make them a little bit better, probably a top 5 team, right? So I don't know. What are your thoughts on Vooch? I feel like you have to... It was like the Bradley Beal situation, right? If you're trading for Bradley Beal when he costs $50 million a year, you're like, no, that's awful. Why would we give up any assets to have to pay a guy who's coming off the bench $50 million a year? But then all of a sudden, it's Bradley Beal for $8 million a year, and you're like, that's the first mustache twirl we've done since I've had this. Got to bring more into it. But if you're paying Vooch something like that, it's kind of what got me talked into Damian Lillard, too, coming to Boston. So something to keep an eye on, what happens with Vooch and the Chicago Bulls. But anyways, that is the Celtics win total, 43.5. I think I'm going to go under. Don't get mad at me. I think I'm going to go under just because I think they're going to intentionally do it to gear up for when our guy comes back. This is how dead the space is right now, by the way. This is the second thing on our list. Derek White's got a new podcast. It's called White Noise. I actually listened to a little bit of a couple of the clips that went out. Not bad. I like Derek White. I'm a Derek White fan. The one thing I did want to point out, and for those, if you've followed me outside of the Celtics Daily, you have seen this. You've seen me talk about this before. You've even seen my video about this before. My favorite thing about this entire podcast space about NBA players starting podcasts, there's one rule. It's not you have to be a superstar to have a podcast. You don't even have to be funny to have a podcast. The one rule to be an NBA player and start a podcast, you have to have one boring-ass white guy as a co-host. Every single one. Trae Young started one. He had a guy. Tommy Alter made a career out of it. Did it with, not with Paul George. He did it with, when J.J. Redick had his pod, he was over there. Who else? Now he does it with the young man in the three, with Trey Murphy and Jalen Williams when they're out there. Just name one. Paul George has got a guy. And then Derek White starts, even the roommate show between Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart. White guy. Derek White starts a podcast, gets a white guy. I'm just saying, I've been putting in the work. So, over the years, I'm fine in front of camera. I get a good rapport. I'm good at getting made fun of, right? So listen, if you're an NBA player and you're catching some of this, I'm ready to go. Let me be your boring white guy. I'm ready. I got a microphone. I got a camera. I got some lights. We could have a great time. So listen, Jaylen Brown, you ready to start a pod? Grant Williams, where are you at? Let's start a podcast. So let's get going. But it is my favorite thing that's happening across the league. NBA players starts a podcast, and there's some white guy you've never seen before being like, "Hey, what was it like in Game 4?" It's just the best. It's the best. But anyways, that's how dead it is right now. This is where we're at. Let's do a little bigger NBA story right now. Skinny Luka, man. Skinny Luka's come back. Who could have seen this coming? Nico Harrison trades Luka to the Lakers. Luka goes to L.A., sees all of the people drinking the green juice, eating quinoa and is like, "Hey man, I gotta get back in shape." And now he did I want to call it an article for Men's Health, but if you only looked at the pictures, it's probably a pretty good piece. You're like, "Wow, Luka was not in good shape. Now he is in good shape." If you read it, it's like this is what's happening to the industry. It was like an AI written thing. They said Luka had a 42-inch vertical, I think it was, at the combine, which anybody remembers. Luka didn't go to the combine, didn't even attend it because he was playing in Eurobasket. It was just AI slop all over it. It was garbage. But anyways, skinny Luka, I think, is going to be a problem for the league. I think he's going to have a big, big year this year. I mean, again, we'll wait and see if he's able to stay skinny Luka as we're like 70% into the season. But to start the season, looks like he's going to be great. Also, Eurobasket, I don't know if we have any Celtics playing Eurobasket. But for those that aren't familiar, it's a really fun tournament. But like Giannis is playing this year. Giannis is playing for Greece. Jokic is playing for Serbia. Porzingis is healthy and playing. Not Lithuania, Latvia, right? And then there's another dude that's exciting that I'm forgetting. Oh, and Luka. And Luka's playing for Slovenia. So that kicks off, I think, on August 27th. That's going to be a fun time, something to keep in mind. But I don't know if we have any Beantown boys, any Celtics playing. But it did make me think, could we get Kenny Lofton Jr. on this same program? You know, what if Kenny Lofton all of a sudden did the Luka, got svelte, huh? Is there any other Celtics in the history of the game? I guess Big Baby Davis, Glenn Davis we could have used that. Although I think that was part of his charm and his prowess, his powers was that weight. But I think Glenn Davis, he got a little big. Is there any other like dream skinny Celtics? Is there anybody you'd like to see go through the Luka system? I don't know what we call it. But anyway, again, dude, I'm telling you, this is how dead it is right now in the NBA space. They were like, look at Luka. He looks like he's in pretty good shape, huh? All right, we're going to get into some of your comments. We get some good ones today. I know this is a quicker episode, but the comments, I think, will extend it a little bit because there's a good one that I want to get into. But before we do that, hey, do me a favor. Like the video, all right? Subscribe to the channel. Let's get this thing up over 2K, huh? All right, let's do it. Let's start. We're going to do two Ben Simmons things, and then we're going to do a bigger thing, all right? So stay with me till the end. The first one is from Vincent Blanchard. He said if Simmons could give 3 to 4 offensive rebounds, 8 rebounds total per game, and 5 to 8 points and 6 to 8 assists per game as a second teamer playing 12 to 8 minutes at vet min, what's wrong with that? No, I agree, man. I agree. If he's gonna go 8, 8, and 8, if he's going to give us the ochos, the 888, yeah, sure. Here's another thing I'd throw at you. If I could grow 5 more inches, what's wrong with that? You know, I think both of those have the same likelihood. That Ben Simmons all of a sudden scores more than 7 points a game, that he's able to stay healthy, that he's able to stay on the court, that he's able to not be an off-the-court distraction. That has the same likelihood as me going from 5'7" to 5'11". And honestly, that could change my life. If I moved to 5'11", that could change my life. But yeah, I mean, I get what people are saying, that there is low risk. I'm just saying there are other low risk options out there. I guess the higher reward is that Ben Simmons really does return to form. I just don't see it. Let's go to Metro Busman 2, and he said he'd be surprised if the Celtics signed Simmons. Don't know why we would want him or why we would offer him more money than another team. There are many teams around the league that will offer him the vet min salary or maybe more. Why would he want to come to Boston? What's the incentive? He could take the best offer, play for a good team. He could play in a tax-free state. Why would he want to tank with the Celtics? So this is, I'm not saying you don't know ball. I think you bring up some really good points. But this is what I've been trying to tell you guys for the last 2 weeks. You're like, why wouldn't Ben Simmons go to another team? Because other teams don't want Ben Simmons. Why wouldn't he go to another team to make more money, you say? Because the vet min is all he has. There's nobody's offering him anything else. The only people that are still available right now, Al Horford, who's 40 and waiting for the Warriors to move Jonathan Kuminga so that he can go to the Warriors, right? That's it. That's the only reason Al's still available. The restricted free agents and Jonathan Kuminga, Cam Thomas, Josh Giddey, and Quentin Grimes, they're still technically available, and that's because they're just waiting for the money stuff to get worked out. The other guys that are available because nobody has offered them anything. It's Russell Westbrook. It's Ben Simmons. It's like guys that are, it is going to be a vet minimum contract. No one's being like, oh, let's give him like $5 million over 2 years. Nobody's doing that. It's a vet min. And no one else is at. And honestly, like he probably could, right? Go to the Knicks or go to the Kings or go to not the Rockets, but like the Mavericks or something like that. The money's going to be the same everywhere. So the one point I will take, like maybe he wants to go take a vet min to a team that's going to compete a little bit more. But if you're Ben Simmons, you're like, no, I actually don't want to do that because I'm not going to get on the floor for the teams that compete. He was just on the Los Angeles Clippers and played 7 minutes per game in the playoffs in a series where they needed a guy to defend 1 through 5. So he needs to go to a shit team or a tanking team. I didn't mean to call the Celtics a shit team. That came from a place of love. He needs to go to a bad team so he can actually play 20 minutes a game to try to rehabilitate his image to then maybe go sign somewhere else. Kind of like what Charles Bassey did in Summer League. He's like, you guys haven't seen me play. Let me get out there. Let me cook for a second. Anyways, that's where I land on. That's where I land on Big Ben, on Ben Simmons. But those are good comments, though. I appreciate them. All right, one more. We got one more comment. I was excited about this one because I hadn't really thought about it too much. AJB1533 Abel says, are Anthony Simons, George Niang, Sammy Hauser all gone after the trade deadline? Question mark. What's your best scenario starting 5 when Tatum returns? Great question. I think 2 of the 3 are gone for sure. I would like to see Hauser stay. I do think Niang and Simons most likely are on another team. Again, I just think they are so cost-cutting right now. That's what they want to do before the trade deadline. They want to get under all the second apron, which they're barely under right now, but we know they're going to sign one more person. They would probably like to get under the tax as well. So that makes me think, Niang for sure is gone. And then I would think Simons is next. Sam Hauser, I think, has the highest likelihood of staying with the Celtics beyond this season unless a team gets really desperate for a three-point shooter who can, kind of defend, and then they overpay for him. That's the only thing. Because, again, his contract is a little bit nicer, so teams are probably willing to part ways with more assets for Sam Hauser than Anthony Simons, because the Anthony Simons, you're gonna bring him onto your team this year. It's $29 million or whatever it is. But then you don't have his rights for the next season. You'd have to re-sign him, right? So Simons is going to hit the market. So anyways, that's kind of where I land on that. The Dream starting 5 though is pretty interesting. I think the Tatum, White, Brown core, Avi. I would love to see somebody this season like a Baylor Shireman or Hugo Gonzalez take a real step that they could be one. Baylor's role, he's an okay defender, right? But a knockdown 3-point shooter, right? So if he's able to show that he can stay on the court and hit the 3 at a high volume, and then you add somebody like Tatum back into the roster, and then I'll get to the one other thing that we have to add. But if Shireman's really your 5th guy out there and just has to be a role player, I think that's a great fit for him. If we learn that he can do that this season, that's why I think this season is important for letting these young guys play. Because same thing with Jordan Walsh. But Hugo, I think, is a very interesting player because he has already proven in his time in Real Madrid, where he's playing with all these former NBA players as this really young kid, was 17, 18, right? And he still was his stats aren't mind blowing, but that's actually good for what we need for that last spot because he's just I know how to cut, I know how to defend, I know how to facilitate, right? And so that makes a perfect sense when you have 2 All-NBA guys in Tatum and Brown and a borderline All-Star guy in Derek White. But anyway, so I would love to see one of those develop, and then we got to get another big. Unless we learn that Nehemias Queta is a better version of Clint Capella, right? Because I think that's the ceiling, probably. Somebody who can rim protect and rim run. He's probably not going to give you a drop step hook shot or anything like that. He's just going to run at the rim. If that's what I would love to see is the Celtics go get another center. I already mentioned Porzingis has such a great relationship with the city of Boston. That was clearly a financial move. Maybe he goes to Atlanta on a 1-year rental. You see what happens. Then he hits the market again. Bring him back to Boston on a cheaper deal. I don't know. But I do think that version of Tatum, Brown, White, and then you have, one of Baylor or Hugo moves in, the other come off the bench with Peyton Pritchard, the other one of the guys that we just talked about. If Sam Hauser's still there, he's also a candidate to potentially start or just come off the bench. But I do think you need to upgrade the 5. And we went over those yesterday. If you missed yesterday's video, I went over all of the potential free agents for centers that are going to hit the market next season. And it's not a lot after Isaiah Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson. Time Lord, that's an option too. And then maybe the Celtics start wheeling and dealing. That's kind of the reason you tank a little bit, right? If you get a good first round pick, maybe it's not number 1, but it's a lottery pick. And then you're like, hey, we'll give you a lottery pick. We'll give you something else. Give us a center. Give us a center. Or maybe it's Vucci Main. I don't know. But that's where we're landing. Great question stuff from you guys today. Thank you. Keep them coming because as you can see from that rundown today, it is dead zone, baby. But appreciate everybody hanging out. I hope you guys have a great day. We will see you back here tomorrow. Hit the subscribe. We're out of here.